All right, whoop whoop. I'm back from vacation and coming to you with the most boring topic, the legal side of a side project. So, I was on vacation. Last video has been, 5 days, 6, 7, 10? Sorry about that. I didn't have my bigger equipment with me, and my internet connection also was quite bad. One npm install and Wi-Fi was down, which meant I couldn't even work properly on the side project. So the vacation was good, but it was not enough development for me. So I'm back now and working on stuff, and I'm back to making some videos. So one topic that continuously came up in questions. I was at a podcast last week as a guest, and also there I was asked a lot about how is the legal side going on these side projects. So how what framework, what's the structure, so you can earn money with the side project. And I wanted to go into that a little bit. But before I do that, of course, I'm not a legal attorney, lawyer, or tax, person, so I can't give legal advice. I'm just sharing how I did it, my experience here. But of course, you have to do your own due diligence and talk to the professionals in that area, so you don't do the wrong thing here. So in general, if you start a side project, if you go the same route as me, you have a 9-to-5 job, a regular job, and you want to start a side project and earn money with it, then the first thing to do is go to your employer and ask for a permit to work on that. And the reasoning behind it is your free time has basically the purpose of you like resting and charging up the batteries. That is still something where you can spend this time however you want, but the important part is that your side hustle does not interfere with your work and not compete with your work. So that means if you work 8 hours a day on your project and then work another 12 hours a day on your side hustle and don't get enough sleep, and then you're always tired in the office, that means your side hustle is interfering with your day job. And this is, of course, not in the interest of your employer. So the first thing is to make sure that this doesn't happen by, for example, simply telling them how much hours you work. So, for example, a Saturday or 1 hour per day or whatever. So normally, I think people choose you work on a Saturday for the side project. Of course, this is not something that people look at, or you don't have to give a timesheet in or whatever. But it has to be reasonable, within reasonable bounds, so you still recharge your batteries for your 9-to-5 job. And the second is to compete. So my day job is at a car sharing company, so my side hustle could not be in competition with this. So I couldn't start a project like a mobility project or a mobility app or whatever. So this is something you have to specify, and then normally nothing should stand in the way of getting the permit from your employer, a written permit that says you are allowed to work on the side project. I personally would formulate the side project activity as broad as possible. So not a specific project, but more the activity you are doing, let's say programming, in non-competing industries or whatever, simply so you can, if you after half a year or 3 months switch the project, so you don't have to go through this process again. This is the first thing. And the second is, I forgot what the second was, but the important part is that you get this permit in a written form from your employer. Oh yeah, and some employers are simply assholes in that regard and simply don't allow it. If you work, it depends on what you do. If you are a programmer and work at a company that does not allow this, I would look for a different company, because they clearly didn't understand that all developers have side projects, and if they bring some money in, that's even better. Developers learn a lot from this. If you are not a developer, a designer, product owner, whatever, then this might be a little bit different, because there are probably, you still could argue the same way, but I don't think it's that common for every designer or product owner to have a side project. Honestly, designers, I think they do, but needless to say, developers have the easiest way of just getting another job at another company. So it's a very desired skill. So you don't have to, put up with that if your employer is an asshole like this. So that is the first thing. Get a permit from your employer and discuss it with your boss, etc. And also, you can argue for that. You don't have to say, I want to have a side project to earn money. You want it to learn. You want to try different things, look at things from a bigger scope. Let's say in your organization, you are a tiny Zahnrad, a tiny cog in a bigger machine, and you just look at your code stuff and what is written in a Jira ticket, but you want to learn at a bigger scope. You want to see how to talk to customers, how customer problems break down into the issues that you're solving, etc. So this is more a learning experience for you, and I would also argue that way. So that in general and for real, your company is actually benefiting from you doing these side projects. So this is how I would argue, and getting this permit. And then once you have this permit, you can basically start already, and earning like the first euros should not be a big problem at all. But it becomes a problem when you have to write the first invoices. So it depends what you do. What I'm sharing here on YouTube is 2 side projects where I basically charge money for a product, and at some point you have to write invoices. Also, if you do development work, like as a freelancer or something, or a friend is coming to you and needs a website and wants to pay you, I don't know, 1,000 euros for it or whatever, they normally want an invoice. And you can, in the beginning, you can write invoices from a private person without any VAT, Mehrwertsteuer, without any taxes there that you put on your charge. But that is very limited, so you cannot do that often. I normally do this, or did this in the beginning when it was very rare, when I wouldn't earn much and it wasn't regular. So whatever, a friend of mine, like a photographer, wanted a website. I did the website. I wrote him an invoice from a private person, and you can do this. Of course, everything you earn, you have to put in your tax report at the end of the year, but I will get to that. But once this comes in regularly, or you have subscriptions like I do, and you have to like write invoices regularly, you should register a business. And you don't have to register like a big business right now. You can do this on your personal entity, on yourself as a private person. This is of course a beginner, like a starting point, because it makes you liable, legally liable, you as a private person. But it's definitely the fastest way to get up and running. So you go to your you have to Google basically Gewerbe anmelden, look at your city, and there you can fill out a form, tell them what you do, like internet services, whatever, and they will give you a tax number, and then you can officially write invoices. So this is a very good way to start. I started like this. I still am a private person with a business registered. And I'm currently switching. I'm switching to the next legal entity, so I'm not personally liable anymore, but the business is liable. And in Germany, that is called a UG, Unternehmensgesellschaft. That is something you can start, or Kapitalgesellschaft, whatever. It's its own legal entity. In Germany, I'm not sure what the names are in other countries, but I guess an Inc. Would be something similar, and then this entity is liable, and this is required if you, for example, start with employees and some stuff like this. Otherwise, if you have freelance people, you can get invoices, write invoices normally, but a legal entity is a better framework also for the future. If you start multiple projects, or let's say you taking part in a startup and get equity share, you can do this through this holding. And the holding has also a lot of tax benefits attached to it, but of course it comes with a lot of overhead. You have to do like bigger tax rounds at the end of each year, and you have to pay quarterly your taxes, probably beforehand, stuff like this. So there is a lot more overhead attached to that. But it's, for example, the next step for me. So I just an hour ago got off the phone with a Steuerberater, a tax attorney, person, to get into that direction. And next week I will talk to the legal attorney to make that happen. And you could also, an UG, Unternehmensgesellschaft, is a good way to start because it requires basically €1 or 2,000 euros in capital. But the goal you want to go for is a GmbH, Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung. This is basically the same, but it requires 25,000 euros capital. I think you can start with 12, but you have to fill it up. And why is that better? It's just, so as far as I know, the only difference is reputation. So if you want to get into contract with bigger companies, they look at this, and an UG is mostly, beginners, amateurs, a very small thing. But GmbH can be huge. We have huge companies that are GmbH in Germany. So this is basically the serious stuff. And it's definitely what I would like to go for, but I don't have 25,000 euros lying around to do that right now. So what I will do is I will create the UG, and then all the revenue that comes in, I will keep inside the business until it reaches 12 or 20,000, and then I basically transform it into a GmbH. So this is, I think, what a lot of people do, from at least what I heard in my circles, and it's how I will approach it. And then you are at the end. So this holding is basically the framework for everything that I do, be it, let's say, investments or creating new projects, etc. And it's a framework where I start everything. But as soon as something like, let's say, Tresor One, so I'm on this here, Tresor One, sorry, is this product one of the products that I'm building? And if this gets big enough to be able to be its own entity, then I would move it out and create a separate UG or GmbH out of it. But the shares owned in that new project for Tresor One will then be not owned by me personally, but by my holding. So this is basically my holding that holds all of this equity and ownership in my projects, in different companies, etc. So this is the framework for a much bigger plan. But I wanted to get it up and running already in the correct way, because what you don't want to do is you want to make your side project big, have people in it, etc. And then, at whatever 200K annual recurring revenue or 500K, people already working in it. And then you have to change the legal entity and trickle apart from your other project what goes to whom, then it gets very complicated. So I want to do this right from the beginning. And one thing I can recommend, because I did this mistake the last time I was a freelancer 5-6 years ago, don't skip taxes ever. Just do them in a real way. Don't complain about it. Yes, in Germany you have to pay a lot of taxes, and especially if you have a 9-to-5 job and then earn additional money, you pay a lot of taxes on that, but don't complain about it. Just do it, because you will regret it if you do this wrong, or if you do it not at all and try to get around it. Like if you get GitHub sponsorships and you think, no one will notice ever. But it can bite you in the ass, especially if your clients are involved. You write them invoices, and the finance department, whatever it's called, Finanzamt, they will see this and at some point check on you, and this will become very expensive if you don't do this correctly. So never skip it. Pay the taxes, even if it's €1 or whatever that you earn. Put it in your Einkommensteuererklärung, in your yearly tax. What's it called in English? When you do your taxes every year, you know what I mean. Put it in there, and so your invoices. Normally, you write invoices to a client if you do freelance work, but if you have users that use your service for a subscription fee every month, then probably a service called Stripe or PayPal or whatever is automatically creating these invoices, and you might have a few of that. So this is Stripe, where I can basically download a report of what happened in March, for example, and then I get a report of each individual item, so every payment that was made from a customer and a total, and you can use that to file the taxes basically every month. So this is what I do. I basically get invoices by stuff that I buy. For example, I paid for the logo here, a designer, or I pay for my servers, for pro versions of hosting, whatever. You get all these invoices, and then also you write invoices. In my case, I write invoices through Stripe, and but if you have 10,000 users, you don't want to put 10,000 PDFs somewhere and calculate this or whatever. So you can download a summary basically from Stripe and use that. If your tax person that does this for you, hopefully, is any good, they can automate this away. So, for example, the person I talked to about an hour or 2 hours ago, they are writing their own API or service to call Stripe, to call the Stripe API and fetch every payments automatically. So I don't have to download anything. But until then, I will basically download this report and send it to them once a month. And then we come to the next point. You basically have monthly paperwork with this. So you collect all your invoices that you do, and you can write off a lot of stuff like lunch with a possible client, or equipment that you buy, your server costs, etc. So this has a lot of tax benefits. But don't make the mistake of thinking, okay, now I can buy a lot of stuff because it benefits my taxes. It's still better to not buy something. So buy what you need, but if that need is required for your side project or your business, then you can write it off, of course, for tax reasons. And this is quite good for the stuff that I would do anyway, which is paying for hosting and stuff, because I had hobby projects as well, and now I basically do this through this little business. You have monthly paperwork for that, for the invoices that you write and the invoices that you get. And probably as soon as you earn some money, the Finanzamt will ask you to pay quarterly beforehand. So that's what I do. But I definitely will recommend to you to get help for that. So I don't do this on my own because it sucks, it's annoying, it's not what I want to spend my time on. And if you can pay someone to do that, which helps you spend time on the product that is actually earning the money, then do that. And taxes and all this legal stuff is the first thing that I would pay money for. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I have a friend that is helping me with the taxes, but starting when I create this UG, this real company, then I have a dedicated tax attorney, lawyer, what's it called in English, a tax person to do that for me, which I pay, of course, monthly and every year. So this is a bit expensive, but as soon as you earn, let's say 5, 10, 20,000 a year with your side project, this is already worth it in my opinion. And it's definitely worth it to have this correct, right? Not only the work that you put in, but it's complicated, and if it's done properly, that's a very good thing. And especially if you plan bigger things, like I do with the GmbH, to have this as a holding for multiple projects, and if you have a bigger vision there, it's better to have this on a proper founding, a proper foundation for that. So I can definitely recommend getting some help for that. That is all I do currently. And I think it's all that is required. But again, you have to talk to a professional here to make sure that there are no issues. There are, of course, some other legal entities like a GBR and stuff like this, Kleingewerbe, etc., that you could do that I didn't mention today, simply because I haven't done it. I have been part of a GBR in the past, so this is also stuff you can do. But the important part is also, are you alone or do you have co-founders? Because if you have co-founders, then you don't do a business on your own, then you probably do this GBR thing. So there are a lot of different possibilities. The best thing to do is look at what you want to set up and then talk to someone that already did it. So I, for example, have a few friends and founders in my closer circle that I talk to, and I ask them what they did and what they recommend. I also ask them for recommendation on these tax people and lawyers and stuff like this. Especially as I'm new in Hamburg, I don't have a network here. So I got some really nice recommendations, and this is how I basically find the people and move forward. And let's see. So hopefully in 1 month or 2 months, I'm at a different legal footing. It doesn't really change a lot, but it gives me security to move forward and, increase revenue, hopefully, and be more comfortable also talking to possible clients, as I also have someone to partner with, because I have to I have to sign NDA sometimes. Bigger companies, especially for Geoman, they send me legal documents and stuff like this in English that I don't understand really. I look at what I understand, I look at some basic stuff like copyright, but if you have a person there that knows this stuff, you can send it to them and they will check that you don't accidentally sign something that will bite you in the ass later. So it gives you a good feeling after all, and security. So it's always cheaper to pay that up front, like the professional help here, than to pay if you did it wrong for taxes or legal stuff. It's something you probably don't want to get into. So that's how I did it, and that's my recommendation. Again, I can't give you any legal advice. I'm not a professional in that area. It's just my personal experience. So do your own due diligence. I hope this video helped you a bit, and looking forward to the next one. See ya. Bye.